Yeah, whoa, yeah. Tell me what's the point of doing life alone? Swings and merry-goes don't feel the same. Nah. I know it's hard to trust when you've been hurt before, but I wanna be the one to share that pain. Oh yeah, take my hand and walk with me. Yeah. On the road that never ends, let it out, just talk to me. Yeah, take your time, cause life is a weekend. I hope you know I'll be right there to love and hold ya.
I'm Kelly Gallagher. I'm the pastor here at First United Methodist Church, Elon, and it's been great spending this time with you. We are going to start our fourth and final week today of At the Table, so we welcome you to the table in our continuing conversations with clergy colleagues about all kinds of good things Methodist, and we're going to talk more about being united and what that means in so many ways. So we'll see you at the table.
Ray and I have known each other
forever,
for years and years and years, and so we'll have these conversations where we're thinking about things and we're not going to do anything about it yet, and then all of a sudden years later it pops back up. In a way, one of the things we had talked about was the kind of post-COVID or during COVID and post-COVID, how that with disaffiliation and video create an opportunity for churches to start to think of their relationships differently. In this current day and age, I think it's significant for Methodist churches, United Methodist churches, to be seen a little differently than we have in the past, to be seen under a larger umbrella, a larger brand, like when you see these, they're cooperative brothers and sisters. I think part of the point here today is to begin to initiate different relationships amongst the pastors. But how would we ever do anything together? How would we ever really do anything together? We really get together. This is a way where we can really do something together.
The idea of us jumping in and actually doing something together is the important part of that.
But for us to start to really be brothers and sisters as churches who no longer see each other as these little kingdoms, really, and to start to say, man, I think I like the folks over there. I think I like the folks over there. I like their pastor.
I want to know if I can interrogate you for just a minute, all of you. A bit of call story, but where is that moment, either in preaching or in pastoring in some sense, where you are just overwhelmed by the opportunity of being where you are and doing what you do?
You're in that because he didn't expect to go into that at all. This came out of left field. Did it feel that way for you? I mean,
yeah. I mean, the imposter syndrome was mighty, and
it never goes away.
No, despite the fact that I had been through seminary, I had been through the Methodism classes, I had been through the meetings, I'd had pastors tell me you can do this, I've had the district superintendent tell me you can do this. There was still that strong voice saying, "Oh, are you sure?" And you're right, it had, without the much louder support system around me saying, you can do this, I might not be in the situation that I am now, because I would still be listening to the anxieties in my own head saying, maybe slow play it for a little while.
But I love the sacraments, and it was a couple years ago, was helping serve communion around to some of our homebound people in another context. And to go over to the first person of the day, a woman's house, and to sit with her on her couch, and to somehow be empowered to be the person to place the communion elements on her side table of her couch, and all of a sudden watch that side table turn into an altar, just as glorious, just as beautiful as any church that I've ever seen, and to share that intimate moment. That picture has never left my brain. And it's awe-inspiring that I get to be a part of that. I get to be included, and a useful tool in that. I love that.
The first church I served was in Lumberton, a very impoverished area. And the youngest person in the church was 58. I was the youth group fresh out of seminary. But we did a mission Bible school with the local church and community centers. All these kids and teenagers started coming to the church. And we welcomed them. The church was 12 people. And all these, sometimes there were more kids than there were adults. And we did a yard sale to raise money because we didn't have money for anything. So we didn't do anything, we had to raise money. And we just kind of threw stuff in a classroom and just left it there. And a few weeks later, it's like, we got to clean up this yard sale stuff. So we brought all the kids to clean up. And one girl brought her boyfriend. And Jimmy's job was to sort through all the wire hangers that had been thrown in a box. And you know what wire hangers like. So Jimmy is reaching and kind of sorting and piling and making sure they're all going the same way. And we're all doing our work and laughing and talking. And Jimmy's like in there with the hangers and he goes, "This is the funnest church I ever been to." And I went, says a lot about other churches.
Oh, man.
But I'm like, this is a God thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anything logical or reasonable about a 14-year-old boy finding great joy in sorting wire hangers.
Yeah, I was thinking, what a hellacious thing to give a kid to do. Oh my God.
Okay,
That's somebody to do it, right?
Kid.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But he,
Earn your stripes, kid.
But he came for years after that and became part of the youth group. But it's like that was a God thing for God to place him in this environment where he felt loved and affirmed and accepted and embraced. It was just like, whoa.
He was describing community.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a holy moment there in that classroom with that big box of wire hangers that God was doing something in this church with these kids.
Belonging.
They were this ragtag group of kids, kind of misfits, growing up in deep poverty, but they found great joy and connection and being together at this little church of 12 senior citizens.
Wow.
Who were willing, not always happy, because they brought a lot of chaos.
Sure.
But they were willing to open this space and allow these kids to come and find God and find community and find connection, even in a big old box of wire hangers.
I think we get ourselves into the most trouble when we fear. Because if we fear and we have to hold on, we can't let go, we have to keep what we have, it's mine, it's nobody else's. It comes back to the ego conversations that we kept having. I just reread Lewis's Mere Christianity for the 3000th time, and he has a line there and in another place, but he says, essentially, I'm going to butcher it. He's the genius, I'm not. So, but the idea is that we are most original when we root ourselves into ideas that have already been. Like, this is not our story. And and just as a practical sort of illustration of this, all right, let's just think about, since resurrection, roughly 2,000 years, think about how many sermons have been preached in all the churches.
Mine haven't been the only ones.
What? Right. But it comes up every Easter, right? What did I say this year that I haven't said before? And it's crazy to think, 2,000 years of however many churches, sermons that have been preached, we have one story. And yet every time it gets surprising things come up. And again, where I'm wanting to root this and where I'm wanting to push against the fear is the generosity of God in the midst of all of this. That's where we root ourselves. In a God who makes and is continuing to make and continues to make all things new. I don't need to have an original idea. I mean, part of that is like the originality already comes because I've been made me. And that's really all that need. And so my unique me-ness, coupled with a story that is not mine, creates these avenues for exploration and expression that...
That is such a great point, Jessica, because I think over the years, it seems to me that we preacher types have some sort of type out there that we think we need to be. And it is so powerful when a pastor can find their voice in teaching and preaching and presence, because you're the only one. You know, I mean, the three of us, I don't think could be any more different. And they're coming at it uniquely from where they are. And that's the gift. I mean, that's the gift. It's like, wow. And I think I know them well enough that they don't put pretense on. They're not trying to be somebody they're not. They're trying not to be somebody else's voice. They're being their voice. And it is so potent for people when you hear those voices. I'm not looking for huge theological things because most of those have been covered. But you can definitely, when I hear your voice and your experience, and it's not focused on you as it shouldn't be, but it coming through your voice and your tenor and who you are, that makes a power. I mean, I'm a trained theological pastor, but when they're doing their thing, makes an impact on me. Isn't it amazing? As we think about Jesus the Christ and the stories that he told, we're still telling those stories 2,000 years and still delving into them. And there are unbelievable discoveries and things we can find there to empower others. I mean, and to be more Christ-like, to be a people of God.
Yeah. I'm hearing a theme of identity throughout all this, both our individual identities and the titles that go along with that inform our identities, collective identities of local church communities and how they see themselves and understand themselves. And going back to what you said about Lewis, and it reminded me of when I was to England for Wesley Heritage Tour. There was a church outside of London, I think it was, that had a banner on the outside. I don't remember the exact wording, but it said something to the effect of, you are about to enter into a story that's been going on long before you were born and will continue long after you were dead. And that's a pretty somber reminder of, you know.
There's a lot of potency there too.
Yeah.
You know, you're part of the story. That's pretty potent.
Yeah.
We are really glad that you have joined us for this time around the table these last 4 weeks. And just want to reconnect with Ray. And Ray, I'm really glad that you kind of created this space around the table for us to share together and have these conversations.
Well, Kelly, I appreciate that. But here is what everyone needs to know, is that you had to say yes.
Did.
You had to say yes. Stefan and Josh and Dwayne and Jesse all had to say yes. And what I'm hoping and praying is that we all become united and for each other. And we're doing everything we can to support each other, and that our churches understand we're in no competition. We are here to love and support each other and cheer each other on and say, how can we serve you? That's my desire anyway.
True. And the kingdom of God is much better served by us cooperating and being collegial and compassionate and being friends and working together for the same goals. Then if we're teams trying to compete against each other,
there's no point to it. And the other thing is that to assure our congregations, number one, we love your pastors.
Yeah.
And number two, we love your DNA. Your DNA of your congregation is not our DNA. And we can't be you, and that's the reason we can celebrate you. It's just like I can't be Kelly, Kelly can't be Ray, and nor would you want to be, trust me, but I can celebrate Kelly, and I can celebrate Edom, I can celebrate all the folks we were around the table in the conversation. So my hope too is that we'll find new avenues.
Yeah.
You know, maybe on film, maybe in person, but we can be a ministry and mission together, spreading the good news of the Christ has come. So, well, thank you again.
Well, thank you for spending this last 4 weeks together with us at the table. And we hope that at some point we'll see you around the table together again.
What was that you were just playing? We'll play some of it again. That's outstanding.